Hey everyone, Cairo here with TCS Rockets, and today we will be looking at yet another combo deck in Magic the Gathering. This time our focus has shifted from Commander, and we will be looking at an interesting deck that can result in a turn 1 victory in Modern. Before we get into it, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe button down below if you haven't already. With all that being said, let's get into today's combo, Neobrand. Neobrand is an interesting combo to say the least. The deck revolves around 3 engine cards to explode into a turn 1 or 2 win. These cards of course are Neoform and Griselbrand, the namesake of the deck, and Allosaurus Rider, an interesting little elf from Cold Snap. Now, looking at these cards, it might be hard to grasp how we will be able to play a 2 mana, 7 mana, and 8 mana card all in the same turn, let alone on turn 1. To answer that, we first need to introduce a support card that plays a big role in this deck, Chancellor of the Tangle. This big green Phyrexian has a fairly unique ability. Before the start of the game, we are able to reveal him from our hand, and if we do, we will get 1 green mana at the beginning of our first main phase. Now, on to phase 1 of the combo, getting Allosaurus Rider into play. Thankfully, Allosaurus Rider has a neat ability that lets us get him into play without paying any mana. By exiling 2 green cards from our hand, we are able to cast this Dino Rider without paying any mana. Once we have resolved Allosaurus Rider, what do we do next? Well, ideally, we would have revealed Chancellor of the Tangle before the game started to get that free green mana, and since Chancellor is green, we more than likely exiled him away to play the Rider. Now we have done a lot. We have our green mana, our 7 mana 1/1, but there is one thing we have not done yet, and that is play a land. So we simply drop a land down and boom, we have 2 mana, just enough to cast Neoform. Now I hear you asking, what does Neoform do? Well, let me tell you, it lets us sacrifice our Allosaurus Rider we worked so hard to get into play to search our library for a card that costs 1 more, our Demon Lord friend Griselbrand, which leads us to phase 2 of the combo, drawing all the cards. Griselbrand allows us to pay 7 life to draw 7 cards, and since this is turn 1, we will have all of our life, meaning we can draw 14 cards and put ourselves down to 6. But wait, that's not all the cards. Well, now it's time to introduce 2 more support cards, Nourishing Shoal and Autochron Worm. These 2 cards let us regain 15 life by exiling the worm from our hand in order to cast the Nourishing Shoal for free. Now with the ability to restore our life total, we continue to draw 7 cards with Griselbrand, gaining more life as needed until we have our entire deck in our hands. Okay, we have drawn all the cards on turn 1, what do we do now? Phase 3, win the game. It's at this phase we introduce our last 2 support cards, Simian Spirit Guide and Wild Cantor. These 2 cards have great synergy. We can exile Simian Spirit Guide from our hand to create 1 red mana, and then we can play the Wild Cantor with that red mana to then sacrifice it to create any color, effectively letting us jumpstart how much mana we have access to. Since we have our entire deck in our hand at this point, we are able to exile all of our Simian Spirit Guides and cast all of our Wild Cantors. We then sacrifice the Wild Cantors for blue mana to cast, drumroll please, Thassa's Oracle, our returning combo win champion. Thassa's Oracle ability resolve, and since we have no cards left in our deck, we just won the game. It won't always be that easy, however. There are plenty of decks that have tools to stop us. Cards to look out for while trying to pull off this combo are Grafdigger's Cage and essentially any counterspell. To combat these, we will need to move over to our sideboard. To answer the cage, we board in Oxidize, a 1 green instant that lets us destroy an artifact. Since it is only 1 green, we can usually still win turn 1 through a cage if we are able to find 2 Chancellors of the Tangle, which, fun fact, I was able to pull off in a Star City IQ here at TCS Rockets. In order to have a decent answer to counter magic, we have to bring in some counter magic of our own. And I can't think of anything better than Pact of Negation. Pact of Negation is a 0 mana spell that can counter anything. The downside is that at the beginning of our next upkeep, we have to pay 3 and 2 blue or lose the game. Since we are trying to win on turn 1 anyways, we will never get to the next upkeep, so this downside does not affect our deck in any way. And with all that being said, you should now understand the basics of the Neobrand combo, how to pull it off, and how to fight off the hate your opponents might bring in for games 2 and 3. Of course, the deck has some nuance to explore as you play the deck, which I think is part of the fun. Have you ever played the Neobrand deck before? Do you have another combo deck that you'd like to see us cover? Let me know down in the comment section down below. I'm Cairo with TCS Rockets, and I'll see you next time.